You love doing the PR stuff. You love it. But you hate doing the things that you actually get bloody paid for, and that stresses me out. You know, like, you think that we don't know about it as well. I'll be like, have you done that? You're like, yeah, I've just got to edit it. And then literally you'll send it to me the day after in the outfit you're wearing that day. Like, I am silly.
Welcome back to another episode of Girls Know Nothing. Girls Know Nothing is officially 1 year old, and some of you guys have been requesting some of the most popular guests I've had back into the room and on the sofa. And I could not have done this podcast without the one and only Hannah Holland, who you'll probably remember back from like episode 5. I won't lie, this podcast episode has not been planned. We literally discussed it 20 minutes before we started recording. So think of it as a little bit of a bonus track, and hopefully you get to enjoy and see where we're going to be in a year's time. We did an episode of Hannah's podcast. Hannah has a podcast called Manage Now. We did an
what's she going to say now, eh?
I can't believe her. She has a silent partner in my podcast, but then she's trying to undercut me with her own.
It's not undercut. It's completely different. Completely different.
It is, but do you know, I think
mine's more about management. The whole thing is to educate people on like talent management and how we kind of brand people and create.
But I think that episode, recording that episode was like a massive eye opener for me about how different that, like, your first episode of Girls Know Nothing, my episode of you on Managed, and then now this conversation I don't feel like we've stayed in one position for like the whole time.
No, I think
it's been a wild 2 years.
I think the scariest thing you can ever do, whether you're a talent or a business owner or whatever, is to stay still. You have to be moving forward because the world is changing like all the time. You know, if you look at MySpace, where that MySpace was, or even MySpace. Blackberries did not get quick enough into touchscreen and they went completely bust. And I found this out the other day because I was like, oh my God, I really want a BlackBerry again. And then went through that. It was like, you know, iPhone overtook. And it's the same with everything, you know, even in management world, Page 3 girls used to make a killing, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know,
everybody when I was a kid wanted to be a Page 3 girl.
Yeah. And also there was talent management for Page 3 girls. And I think there's still glamour agencies and stuff like that. But, you know, a lot of the mainstream talent agents then went on to, you know, digital talent. But the ones who didn't move quick enough do not exist anymore. So it is always a case of you have to be looking at the new thing, not going, oh, that's not going to take off. You don't know what's going to take off. It's all to do with a trend. You
just have to take that risk, don't you? It's like what we did with this podcast, really. We just took that gamble.
I think with podcasting, everyone always like, oh, it's oversaturated. Why is that a bad thing? If you can make it niche and different, you know, getting your face out there, even if you're only getting 300, 400 listens, that's 300, 400 people who know who you are and what you're projecting out than who before you did it.
If you put 300 people into a room, that's quite a big audience.
I think people are so obsessed with looking amazing online.
You've got such a cult following, it doesn't matter. You actually do. The amount of people that DM me all the time being like, how do I get in there with Hannah? And I'm like, I don't know. She came to me, babes.
12-year-old little bully ginger mushroom Bob Hannah would be really excited about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Luke wasn't recording the part where she was talking about singing Annie with her microphone.
Well, you know, we all had dreams. I never made it to Annie in the West End, but...
What's your dreams now then?
I don't know what I want to say. Oh. No, I think my dreams are very much, you know, being a leader in this industry, for sure.
Do you not think you are already?
I think we're getting there. I think there's always room for improvement.
There is with everything, but like I was saying to you, that the amount of people like DM me being like, I want to be a HLD girl. How do I get in
I think that's so funny though. It is funny, isn't it? I remember when I couldn't, for love or money, get someone on these books, and I was pitching hard. And now it's, you know, it's very humbling that people aspire to be on books and know that we're very good at what we do and can build talent.
What I don't even know what to say to you at this point, because I feel like I know so much about you, but it's trying to like
what do people not know?
Yeah, what do people not know that I can get Hannah to say without getting her in trouble or me in trouble? But she's thinking about it now.
You know what, I think I have a bigger personality than people think I do, because I honestly think I try and keep it quite tame, especially on camera, but I don't know if that's true. But
I think it's come out more and more. I think during the first episode you were very tame. Like
I remember I felt so ill that day too. I had like a proper cold. Like
I thought it was food poisoning.
No, it wasn't food poisoning.
Oh.
I just felt really under the weather that day. I was really like...
I was one of those people who's always really scared to put myself out there. And you know, when you like, I was always that person like, oh, podcasting's so oversaturated. Are people actually going to listen to me talk?
You do the same thing that I hear from people all the time, but there are new podcasts being launched all the time and they do incredibly well. It is to do with the niche. It's to do with your following. It's to do with, you know, can you stick to one thing? I think if you think that it's going to blow up the moment you release it, that is the wrong way to think about it. It's not. It's like anything. You have to build up an audience on Instagram, YouTube, everything like that else. Just because there are some people who do blow up straight away doesn't mean that's going to happen to you. I think that's why people are really disheartened and like usually give up quite quickly.
Do you think that we stuck to what the original plan or vision for Girls Know Nothing was?
No. I think we've bounced around a bit a lot of like what were the audience? Who were the audience? Where were we going? Who was doing well? I think it was a lot of trial and error. It was different because you, as a I guess, call you a talent to your face, but like a talent, you as a person, Sharon Gafka, you're everywhere. Like in terms of, your interests aren't one specific thing. You have so many. So you did come from a reality TV show. So you have got that reality TV knowledge and you know more than anyone what it's like to be on one of those shows. But then you also have, the political side and you have your legal side and you have your, campaigner side. How can you possibly just have one type of audience for a podcast that you run? Because you can't be like a Love Island podcast. That's not you. And there's already one like that anyway.
I love talking to Hannah because she just massages my ego massively. Tell me more. Tell me more about me, Hannah. No, I always want to know. Like, I can ask you now because it's on camera. What is the hardest thing about managing me? She's trying to be politically correct.
No, I am. I'm trying to not upset you. You know what? The hardest thing is you love doing the PR stuff. You love it. But you hate doing the things that you actually get bloody paid for. And that stresses me out. And you think that we don't know about it as well. I'll be like, have you done that? You'll be like, yeah, I've just got to edit it. And then literally you'll send it to me the day after in the outfit you're wearing that day. Like, I am silly.
That is true, but I'm open about that though.
You're not open about it because you get defensive. You're defensive. That's the, and I'm defensive, which is why sometimes we go, I will take a moment.
To be fair, I do. Maybe I just don't tell you because I don't want to get told off by Mama Hannah.
Well, unfortunately, in this life, the things that we don't want to do are usually the things that we have to do to make money.
I know. When you were saying about the next year, I actually don't even know what my plans are for the next year because I feel like we set a plan out and we never stick to it because it just changes.
I don't think we've ever stuck to one particular plan for any talent that we have on the books because, like I said, the world is evolving. I stopped doing very specific year-long plans. We do 3, 6 and 12-month plans for talent, like we think we did at the start of the year. But it's, COVID, when that happened, no one could have predicted that.
Yeah.
People were having to do completely different things to what we would ever set out to do. Even back then, like we've developed as an agency in terms of our resources and things that we can do now more. So it's a case of, we always have big dreams. I always like to put the dreams down and then how can we get ourselves there?
What do you think what's the next big dream for HLD that you can tell us?
I would like to venture out into America.
Oh, really?
It's not like an immediate goal because I think people who jump the gun like that don't tend to do well. Just because you have to really scope out your market and figure out the best way to do it. But for me, I would say I would like to eventually venture out into the States. It's always been a dream of mine to have dual homes.
Why
I need to really buy a house in the UK first to really give that reference.
It's hard.
It is so hard. And you know what? One thing that I wish I learned was more about like mortgages and, things that you need to have in place before, especially freelancers in terms of, so I'm on a salary, so it's not really me as much now. But when I first started the company, I was freelance technically. I wasn't, no one was on salaries. So, having your books like that. And when I help talent with just like advising on how this is how we appreciate need to get together for a mortgage advisor, they need 3 years worth of accounts and it's very intrusive. And depending where you live, I live in Bromley, the house pricing is crazy. Like crazy. Like you can get a 1-bedroom masonette for 300, 400 grand. Like that is silly money. And I just feel really resentful to pay that for something that's not big than that. And you think in London it's worse. And someone I have on Instagram, I love the comparisons they do. For $350,000, right? So dollars, so what is that, about 320 grand cash, like UK money, you can get a beautiful house, like 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom house in Texas, big pool. In here, you can literally get something that looks like it's been run down and someone shits, literally human feces up the walls. It's, in central London. And that is, no wonder there's a housing crisis. And People can't afford things. Like I told you, didn't I, when I left my old flat, my house, it was my gas bill, not just electricity, like no electricity, just gas for 3 months was £600.
Is that why you want to go to America opposed to any other country?
No, because it's more expensive now.
But why would you want to take HLD to America as opposed to anywhere else?
I think there's a lot of more opportunities for talent there, in terms of like there's more money in America. There are different, the talent sphere there is completely different. I like a challenge.
One of the biggest things about people that like not manage talent, one of the biggest things I hear about people that are talent is when you're going to get a real job.
It is a real job. If anything, this job probably financially makes a lot more money than what most people would consider a real job. I don't think there's a correct way to make money. I don't judge how anyone makes their money. Whether you are on OnlyFans, you're a porn star, you're a talent, you work as a banker, you're an accountant, you're a lawyer. As long as you're a good person with a good heart and good morals, I don't think there's anything wrong with how people make money. And I think it's usually a jealousy thing to say, when are you going to get a real job? Because I remember when I started HLD, it was very much like there's no money in that industry.
So you say that you don't judge people for what they do,
no,
which is fine, because I don't either. But would you be happy if I turn around to you and said, Hannah, my next thing is I'm going to sign up to OnlyFans?
I don't think it suits your plan in terms of you're not someone who necessarily enjoys taking pictures anyway. So you're more like a front of spokesperson, and you are so like face on. You enjoy being interviewed. You enjoy interviewing people. It's a completely different market for you. I don't think that would suit. If you wanted to do it, there's a discussion there. I just think it has to align with where you're heading. It's
nice to know there's open discussion there, though I don't know how open the discussion's going to be. People do very, very well on OnlyFans. I have a lot of friends on OnlyFans, and I have a lot of friends who do very well on OnlyFans, and put it this way, they make a lot more money than me. So, it is what it is. I think it's what you're comfortable with. As women, we are so grateful. Like, I'm so grateful now we're in a position where we can do whatever we want without a man telling us that we can't. Obviously, that's not always been the way. We actually had an interesting discussion earlier about why women should vote. And I said, I find it really belittling when people tell me I should vote, just because women obviously fought for our rights. But it's more a case of I don't understand politics, which is why I would love someone to teach me more. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I think because we don't have enough of those discussions in schools. So, and I'm not me and my friends, we'll sit and go down through it and go like, okay, I think I voted for Brexit. That was a really important one for me because I really did understand that one. But when we're going through...
You did or didn't?
I did. But when we're doing, it was like the Jeremy Corbyn, I just couldn't get my head around it, like the difference in what it make. And then, you have like, I guess the real adults, like parents and people going like, well, they don't do it anyway. Like, well, why am I voting if they're not going to do it?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, that's part of our next 12-month plan, I guess.
Yeah, I think you would be very good in politics and explain to people why, what the importance of knowing each party. There's a Green Party, who knows what that does. It's true. I don't want to sound uneducated. I really just don't understand the government like that. It's not my
hard.
thing.
It's hard.
I understand. I'm very good like now at this legal side. I'm doing an A-level in law, and I'm really find that so fascinating.
It's the UK's answer to Kim Kardashian over here.
It's not. I do a lot of contracts, so contract law is kind of what I want to focus on. I think understanding what I'm doing, but obviously politics doesn't really come into my day to day. So I think a lot of people probably maybe would feel similar to me if it wasn't something that naturally interests them.
Yeah, I think there is an uprising though, I think, with young people, particularly young women. Like they want to be more active. It's just figuring out.
I really want to be really more intelligent with it.
Oh.
I really want to understand it.
Well, I'll use you as my guinea pig then for when we go out and do stuff.
Someone who knows absolutely nothing about politics.
But it's better to explain to somebody that knows nothing than to try and explain to somebody that knows something or thinks they know something.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see. I would love to talk really passionately about, the rights of just rights. To be fair. I was going to say rights.
If you say rights of dogs, Hannah's got it covered.
I don't really know the full ins and outs of dog rights though, but I am very passionate about protecting dogs.
Really randomly, this just came into my head. Do you know on iPhones they have memories, what you were doing last year?
You do dogs, I know. If you search dogs, it comes up every dog ever. I've got like 250.
I have done that, but that's not what came up.
Was it a picture of me?
Yeah. On a double-decker tour bus.
You searched dogs and it came
No, it came up with
I thought you were calling me a dog.
No, as in Kevin, what were you doing this time last year?
Oh, so it must be our anniversary.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Darling.
So 1 year of a podcast, 2 years of us. I know.
Oh, what a special moment.
It feels like it's been longer than 2 years though, I can't lie.
I know. I always think like you're one of the first clients we've had, but you weren't really, no offense, but that's not
Why am I offended? Am I
that's something I say to people.
I'm not the longest one you've had at the moment.
No.
Grace's.
Sean.
Sean
was one of our first clients.
I'll push her
been
off.
With us.
I'm joking. I won't do that.
Sean's been with us a really long time, yeah. But she's done incredibly well.
So if somebody wanted to get into this industry and then be managed by HLD, what do they have to do to impress you? I know certain people are really going to want to know the answer to that question. That's all they're going to care about in this episode.
I don't know what I'm thinking because I do know the answer. It's more, you know what? It is different for each person, but having a talent, being able to be commercial is so important because, you know, there are some people who are really talented, but they're probably not that commercial because they're not really willing to rein it in, or, you know, you shouldn't really be dropping the C-bomb and saying things like having really outrageous views isn't, you know, the idea.
It's good for views, but not for...
I never sign people who are, you know, who are too similar to someone else.
Okay.
Just because I don't ever like it to be a competition within the agency. You know, that's, I think, how we've kept it quite niche. I have to get on with them. That is just something I have to know that they have strong beliefs. Even if they're different to mine, they have to be passionate about something. But I have to also, even if we weren't like, you know, you don't have to be friends with everyone in this life, but I have to respect that person and their views. And if you're coming in and you're saying to me the first, you know, your dream goal is to work for a fast fashion brand, that's not what I'm wanting for my agency. I want people who have dreams that are scary. You know, that it is, there is nothing that's too big. You saying you want to work with Louis Vuitton one day, we've had that before. And,
really?
You know, we didn't get Louis Vuitton, but we got Farfetch, who was working with designer brands.
That's close enough.
So, you know, it is different, but you're aiming towards something, you know what those big goals are. But I think now people get into this for the wrong reasons. They think they can make a lot of money and people know they are and they want to be famous, which is the same reason for like the Love Island side, you know. That's genuine. Being genuine is something that I really look for. Do you think, some people who've fallen into this, I love people like that who don't know how good they are. I love that. And that's the people I look for.
Do you think that people that aren't genuine show very easily in this industry?
Oh yeah. But I think everyone's different in terms of how you'd see it. I think any talent manager you ask would say they know how to spot that. Because it's what we do day in, day out. I don't think the average like Joe would know. You know, I don't think if I asked any of my friends, they'd be like, oh, what? Or, you know, when you hear about like genuine couples on reality shows, you know, sometimes you can spot it, sometimes you can't.
They're always the ones that people that are watching the reality show think they're not genuine.
They're usually genuine.
No, as in like, you know, people are like, that's not a genuine couple. Yeah. It's usually when they're on the show, people are like, they're not a genuine couple that are probably the most genuine.
Yeah, I know. That's what's the craziest because it's, you know, it's, when you're acting, I guess, and it's like so full on, I could come on to you now and it'd be probably more genuine than some of the genuine people because on TV, you are going through the natural flow. You are like playing hard to get a bit. You don't want to just throw yourself.
To get with me.
I've never played hard to get with you, I don't think. I think I made my intentions very clear from day one.
That sounds really bad. Sorry, Connor. But
Connor doesn't mind. He shares my like me with a lot of women. No, obviously I don't have much of a personal life anymore, so.
But is that the worst part of your job, do you think?
Maybe. I think the fact that the worst part of my job is when I don't get my own way. And what I say with that is, when I say that, what I mean is I help plan out every single talent's future, like career plans. And if it doesn't go exactly how I want it, it really upsets me and I take it very personally. Do you know, that's the worst part of my job.
But then how can you differentiate between like moving on to the next thing and like doors closing and new doors reopening and like you taking things personally?
I think if I didn't take it personally, I wouldn't do this job anymore. I have to. I think there's a way of doing it. Like I've had to learn to not react anymore. Okay. You know, so I've had to very much take, you know, you have to take a step back. Obviously I announced that Ella Young, who is now my new managing director, and I went to CEO, having a great team is the best thing you can do, because Ella keeps me grounded. She's like, grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. You know, and usually, it's, you know, when I say things don't go quite correct, it's like, I've always envisioned someone working with some brand or doing this campaign and they didn't get it. That really upsets me, because I'm like, we've worked so hard towards this and we've put all the things in motion for months and it's just not happened, you know. So they're the kind of things that I meant by taking it personally. But, you know, my one thing that I hate is when people say it's not personal, it's just business. But this is my business, so I'm always going to take it personally.
I mean, considering it's your name and your hair colour, it's very personal when it comes to HLD.
I think if you own a business and you don't take it personally, in terms of like, and when I say personally, I mean like care about it. You know, I deal with people. I'm not selling a product, right? I'm not selling people, but you know, what my job is to essentially build talent and make them commercial, right? And help bring their dreams come true. But also we care and protect these talent. So, and you build bonds with people. So it's, you know, that's why if you run a business like mine and you aren't personal about it, you know, if you can't look at people as a business, I don't believe that's right. I don't believe that is how you are successful in this industry.
Well, how can someone be more commercial?
It's an interesting question, because there is no straightforward answer, but I do believe being a bit more family friendly always helps. You know, it's interesting because Grace technically was not family friendly when we first met her.
Yeah.
But I think she has kept her young audience. She is still quite out there, but she has changed her voice. But her voice will always change as she gets older, because her interests will change.
Yeah.
That is always what's going to happen with talent. If you look at the old school YouTubers, you know, the Joe Suggs, you know, or the Zoellas, you know, they develop and their audience develops with them. They're not going to still have the same audience because you're a different age. Like the things that I used to love doing at 21, I would not say I love doing them now. Well, I like drinking still, but apart from that, you know, but it's true that your interests are different. The kind of clothes I wear are different. Your audience will develop with you. And the idea is, you know, hopefully they develop with you and you don't lose them along the way.
Yeah, because I was not to pick out Grace in particular, but obviously like when she first started TikTok.
Were you here when she started? No, you joined after Grace, because
only just.
Grace is she's about 3 years with us.
Oh,
now.
okay. The first time I met Grace was really interesting.
What happened?
She turned around to me and she went, you look like your Instagram pictures. You're not a catfish. And I was like, okay, cheers. Thanks, Grace.
I think that's such a compliment.
It's a compliment. But
in the world of FaceApp, that's so complimentary.
That is a very big compliment, considering I just got called catfish by...
Oh, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that was the first big thing we did with you in terms of like collaboratively. Grace got called a catfish on the Daily Mail, then you did. So we had you two sort of call each other and film it.
People thought we were actually beefing though.
Yeah, I know. And that means that we did a great job of that.
Is HLD boxing on the cards?
Nope.
Not even for all of the money.
I don't know what you'd be like. What, the agency boxes each other? I don't get it.
Would you put any of your talent up for, well, apart from obviously Fran?
If they wanted to do it, for sure. If they wanted to do it, that's a different discussion. I would never force someone to do that.
Yeah.
Know?
But would you not have the agency fight each other?
I would like to not.
I don't think any of us hate each other, so I don't think it could be possible.
I don't think even the people who box each other hate each other, to be honest with you. It's, you know, I guess in that one, it isn't personal, it is just business in that way, because it is it's a competition of physical strength, right? As long as you don't do anything below the belt, it's not going to be personal. No one looking at it as personal. I always say that I really like, you know, when people shake hands at the end or give a hug, or, you know, they bounce boxing gloves to respect at the beginning. I love things like that.
Should we do that at the end of this podcast? Shall I shake your hand?
It's like a little...
That is probably the least intimate I've ever been with Hannah in my life. Don't make that face. I don't even know how to like end. We were just coming in for a chat to say like happy 1 year.
I think this is like this is like a really good like bonus episode maybe of 1 year little chat.
Hannah is the bonus, the prize.
Oh, that would be a nice prize.
I'm going to ask everyone else if they agree if having Hannah would be a nice prize.
I don't think people would agree. I think people who knew me wouldn't necessarily agree. I think people who don't know me, maybe.
I know you. I'd say you're a prize.
Oh,
thanks, babe. Yeah, I don't really know how to round up this random.
I think we should just say cheers to 1 year.
Cheers to 1 year. Or should we shake hands?
Cheers to 1 year. Oh, cheers to 2 years of us. It's been magical.
I can't wait to do this episode again in a year's time, hopefully with a little bit more than
actually,
half an hour.
What we should sign off with is what we see for the next year, and then come back in a year and rewatch it and see how that levels up.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be a good one.
Are you going to go first? What do you see for HLD in a year?
Can I do personal and a year? Like personal and HLD?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so for HLD, I would like to have doubled my staff force, have a bigger office. I have like...
I just hear Luke laughing. More space.
I want like a floor. That's the dream. More talent, but multi-platform in terms of, you know, I would love to say that we've gone into the publishing industry by then. You know, we've entered all these different spaces. And personally, I mean, that's what I'm going to say with HLD. I would like to have started Made to Move in LA by then, like started putting the feelers out, maybe taking on a couple of US talent. And then personally, I would like to have bought a house.
You were going to say have a baby.
No.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say
But you know what? That is actually something that I think people are always... I've had it recently, like, when you can have a baby and get married.
You're so young. Why?
Is it so bad for me to say that I don't want those things right now?
No.
All my friends are getting married and having babies though. And I'm so happy for them. And I really love watching it. And it really makes my heart like warm. But you know, God.
You've got so much time though. You're only in your 20s.
I just can't imagine a baby crying and I'm the one who has to sort of help.
Give her another dog though.
I would like another dog, I think.
Is that what you're going to get in the next year?
No, I've put a bar on dog buying. Well, not buying, but like rescuing. for a few years now.
Okay.
But one day, if the house gets bigger, so does the amount of dogs, I think. Because there's more room, you know, there's more room. And, you know, the more, after you hit number 2, it's like they just start helping each other at that point. Like they look after each other and they play together and stuff.
Okay, well, you're going to convince me to get another dog now.
I have been saying this for a while, you should get another dog. What are your dreams? I think Vienna needs a sister.
Okay.
Or brother.
Yeah, a sibling. I would love to get Vienna a sibling in the next year. It's not really a big goal, but...
Any other bigger goals?
I want to be the first HLD book that you sign.
Nice, I like that.
Just to put it out there. If I'm not, I will kick it off.
I
won't.
I can't control the way the world works.
I won't kick off. I would like to be the first book you guys have.
Nice, I love that.
I want to turn the podcast into a community.
I love that. I've been saying this for ages that we need to do like a live show. I think it'd be interesting to put it out there and see what people think of that and if they would come.
Yeah, I think that for me, this time next year, I want to see Girls Know Nothing as a community rather than a podcast.
But loads of girls who know nothing together, who actually know everything. And, you know, I love when I say the name because people are just like, what do you mean Girls Know Nothing? It's obviously a play on words. The whole point is that we know far too much. When
you say it to a girl and you explain it to them, they instantly think of all the scenarios they've been through in their life when they've been told they don't know anything.
You know what? It's definitely something that I've seen recently, even maybe more now than I ever felt when I was coming up in the industry, that people really do sort of belittle me slightly because I'm a woman, especially in, you know, male ran agencies. I've seen it more recently, or taking me for a fool. I don't like that.
It's sad because in your podcast episode a year ago, you also said the same thing. So it's sad to know that in a year's time, it hasn't changed.
And I think in a year's time, it probably still won't. I think it's just the way the world works in terms of competition and the way we speak about each other and how we speak to each other.
But it's fine because in a year's time, you'll have a house and HLD be in America and I'll have a book on its way.
I know. I'm hoping we'll have a few books in a year's time, like a whole year. We would like to think...
As in HLD have a whole more books or me have a whole more books?
No, like I would like to think we have like a few
talent
talent who've got some books out. That would be good.
Start a little HLD library.
You know, I would do a whole thing in the office too. Like I'm a very proud momager.
Shout out Christiana who?
I have everything for like every single thing from talent. I've got all her Emily's first collection drawing decks. I keep every single thing.
Oh.
Everything. I'm so proud of them all.
You've probably got more memorabilia for the 2 years of us than my parents do for 28 years of my life.
I've got all your press articles in a folder. I've got everything.
God, that's a lot.
No, it's well, maybe not the ones that are, you know, Sharon's bosoms look large today in the Daily Mail, but you know, the ones that you've done like interviews or self-written articles. I've still got your Grazia. I've got 3 of those at home. I've got all your covers. I've got all of those in the office. I've always kept hold of everything. I'm so proud of what we do and what the girls do. So, you know, I like to look back at it. Oh, I'm feeling a bit emotional now.
Oh, well, if you can't beat us, join us. Well, I'll watch
does your manager love you about all your memorabilia? I don't know.
Well, I can't wait to watch this in a year's time and see what we get up to.
We'll be like, why did we not plan it out?
Yeah, literally be like, this was awful, but it was fun at the time.
Bonus episode. It's not even a real episode. It's a bonus now.
It is, yeah. And it's too hot. So I really want to wrap this up so I can get out of this room because it's like a hot box in here.
Well, I'll see you in a year, guys.